Sponges fall under the phylum Porifera. So in this video, we're going to discuss about the physical features, the economic importance, and other important information, like for example the habitats they belong to and all. All right. So the first thing we need to know here is Porifera are commonly known as sponges. So that's a common name, and it's very important to have that in mind. Because for example, if you're writing an examination, they can tell you, okay, give you an example of sponges or write the characteristics of sponges. So if you don't really know what sponges is, you find it very hard to answer that question. So it's very important to know the common name. All right. And one important information we need to know is that the sponges, they are among the simplest multicellular animals, and they are mostly found in aquatic habitats. I know you say multicellular. Multi means many cells. They have many cells. Okay, that's why they're called multicellular animals. So it's very important. So the mineral porifera, the word comes from two Latin words. The first one is pori. Pori means pore. If you look here, you can see a lot of pores here. They have pores in the body, which allows water to come in and come out. Okay. Then you have your fera, means bearing. So they're called pore bearing animals. All right. So the body contains numerous tiny pores through which water can easily enter and come out. All right. And for you to understand what pore means, for example, you can see the sieve here. So when you pour water into the sieve, what happens? Water tends to pass through the sieve. So water come into the sieve and water easily pass through the sieve. All right. So they are pore bearing animals. They have a lot of pores, and that makes water to able to come in and out of the body. All right. So in terms of classification, just so you know already, they belong to the kingdom Animalia, which is a very important point you need to know. And again, the phylum is Phylum Porifera. Okay. So they belong to different habitats. All right. So for the habitat, this habitat here, this is sea. A good example of a sea. Very beautiful view. Then you have your ocean. So you can find the sponges in the ocean. And again, you can find them in the freshwater ponds. So this is a good example of ponds. Then you can find them in rivers. All right. And you can also find them in lakes. Okay. So you can find sponges in, like I told you, they are found in aquatic environment, which is environment that has to do with water. All right. So this is where you can find sponges. So some good example of porifera includes we have a bat sponge, you have a freshwater sponge, you have a glass sponge, you have a tube sponge. So they all come in different form. They come in this form and they come in this form. All right. Yeah. So let's go through the general characteristics of porifera. So when you're writing a theory exam, they always ask you about general characteristics, and it's very important for you to know. So you need to understand that they are multicellular, means they have a lot of cells. Okay, so the body is made of many cells, which is very important. And however, they do not possess true tissues and organs. They don't have true organs like the lungs, the nose, the skin, and other organs that is very vital for an organism to survive. So these organisms, they're multicellular, yes, but they don't actually have this nice architect like how other higher animals possess. Okay, so they are mostly marine. Marine means they're found in seas. There's water that have a lot of salts. So most of them, you go to marine habitats, you find most of them there. Okay, and they're found in saltwater region, which is like the seas and the oceans. So only few occurs in freshwater. So your freshwater is just like a water body that have little or no salts, like your rivers, your lakes. Those are example of freshwater. So you find little species in freshwater, but most of them we found them in the ocean. So that's very important. And again, they are sessile. All right. And one important point about sessile is that because they're called sessile because they are permanently attached to a surface. So when they stick to the surface, they're attached to the surface. That's why they're sessile. Okay. So, but some adult sponge do not move from one place to another. So which means they're permanently that are sticked to a particular surface, they remain in the surface and carry out all life processes at the surface. Okay, so the next one, the body contains numerous pores, which I've mentioned before, and they have small openings called the ostia. Ostia. So that ostia brings about those perforations you have in the body, those openings that makes water to pass through it. So water enter through the spores and come out of the spores. So the presence of osculum. So this is the osculum. You can see the osculum here. Okay. So what the osculum does is water leaves the sponge through a larger opening. So through the osculum, water leaves the what? The sponge through this point here. So that's one of the importance of the osculum. So they feed by filter feeding. Filter feeding means substances come inside, they filter the substance they need, and they filter away the substance they don't actually need. So sponge obtain food by tiny organisms and food particles from water. So they have the pores in which water pass through them. So they filter the organisms they need and take away those particles they don't need. So we call this what filter feeding. All right. They have no true organs, so they don't possess the heart, the brain, the lungs. They don't have any digestive system. All right. So because they are body architects, they don't carry those structures. So the body is usually asymmetrical. So they're asymmetrical because they cannot be divided into equal half. So look how the body look like. It cannot be divided into equal half. So you can see how asymmetrical it is. So the internal skeleton present, they have a kind of skeleton which is not like that of other vertebrates. And this skeleton is supported by spicules or spongy fibers. Okay. And in terms of reproduction, they carry out asexual reproduction by budding and regeneration. Regeneration means if a part of it become if the part of the body become destroyed, they tend to regenerate again. While budding, they can split into two. They can split into two to give rise to a new organism. The budding is very important. It's very common in Hydra. Yeah. So they undergo asexual, and also they still undergo sexual reproduction by producing new gametes. So they pass through that sexual contact to give rise to a new gamete. So reproduction is both sexually and asexually. And it's very important to get clear pictures about the economic importance of porifera. So one that I use as bathing sponge and natural sponge, which is used for washing and cleaning. So you can use them for a very important thing, because while we humans we need laundry, we need to wash our soap, so they can be used for sponge and natural sponges for washing and cleaning different surfaces. So this is very important aspect of sponges. Okay, so for the next one, they are very important when it comes to habitats. So they create habitats for small aquatic organisms. Okay, so like small organisms tend to live within the sponge body, and they derive shelter for it. You can see this small fish here, which is found inside the sponge. Okay, so this serves as a type of what habitat for smaller bodied animals. So harmful important. So some species damage shellfish. So some fishes that have shells, what happens because some species of sponge are boring. I mean boring means they create hole into surface. What happens? They destroy some oyster shells and corals. Just like you can see here. So you can see perforation. So because they bore holes that create a lot of boring in the shells of oysters, and this can affect the organism. So this is a harmful effect that it can cause to some organisms. So adaptations of porifera. So they have a lot of structures. You can see this diagram here. They have different structures here, and all these structures perform a vital function. So here they have numerous pores, and this what it does is help for water entry. So you can see spores in the body. They have a lot of spores, and you have the osculum. The osculum, which is here, you can see the osculum at this point here. All they do is what they help in water exits, so water can easily exit from the sponge. They have your spicules. These are spicules, and what it does is it helps in support and protection. Then they have sexual habits where they attach themselves to other surfaces. Then filter feeding, which help for food collection. So this is a very important aspect of the adaptation. Now we'll just go through some few questions. So some questions that you can actually come through. Maybe you're writing your examination. You say the common name for porifera is very important for you to know is sponges. So don't forget about these sponges. And water leave a sponge through what? Which part of it is it through the gills? Is it through the mouth? Is it through the ostium? Or is it what? Osculum, which help for exit of water away from the sponge. Then most poriferans are found in forest, no; desert, no; grassland, no. They're found in marine habitats. You can find them in the freshwater, lakes, ponds, just as we mentioned in the video. It may look very easy because, yeah, you've watched the video to this point, but if you don't revise, you'll find all this information very difficult to remember. Okay. So there's some questions for you just to play around. So the first one, define Phylum Porifera state five characteristics. It's very important. Ask kind of question. Explain how sponge obtain their food. Say filter feeding. Differentiate between ostia and osculum. State three economic importance of sponge. So if you watch the video to this point, you'll be able to answer all those questions easily. They'll have some stretch questions that can just make you sweat a little bit. So what are sponges? Considered the simplest animals. How does the canal system help a sponge survive? Why can sponges survive without organs? Explain the significance of filter feeding in porifera. And why are porifera regarded as successful aquatic organisms despite their simple structure? Okay, so at this point, I have to leave you guys here. So this is the last section for this point. So just subscribe to my channel because this is the first phylum, which is Phylum Porifera. So my next video, I'm going to talk about the next phylum and we'll go through the economic importance, physical features, the characteristics, and all other important information that you need to know. So in case you have an exam to write, you can go to my video and revise and you're able to get that information you need for an exam. So all the information I'm giving you here is the information you need to know. This is all the information you need to know about the sponge, the example of sponge, the economic importance, the harmful effect they have, and everything. All right. So if you watched the video to this point, thank you very much. And I'm going to see you in my next video. Please subscribe to my channel so I can give you more interesting content. Thank you and see you next time.